What's up, guys? It's Patricia from TarantulaHeaven.com. I have Miss Spidey right here, and I have Blinky right here. This is the first time, or one of the first times, that I'm showing Blinky's enclosure on the channel, and this is just because my setup has changed. I am now filming from my bedroom from the winter because it's just warmer in here for the spiders, and it's easier to control the temperature since it's a room that I can close the door. My living room where they were at was just too big, and it's not easily heated, or at least not easily heated without spending hundreds of dollars every month. So I've been keeping them in my room for the winter where I can use a space heater to just control the temperature a little bit better. And I apologize, you're not going to see much of Blinky. Blinky is tunneling as usual. This spider spends all of its time underground. So yeah, that's an Arizona blonde for you. But at least Spidey's up. Now, if you're new to the channel, I put out tarantula videos every single week, whether it's about tarantula facts, my observations about tarantulas, my thoughts about tarantulas, or just general advice or things that I've heard in the hobby or experiences I'd like to share. So if you're into that, you can subscribe below. And you can also sign up to my Patreon for early access. But today we are going to be talking about why I think tarantulas can be considered as emotional support animals. And this is probably not a popular opinion. I think that when we think about emotional support animals, we're only going to be hearing about cats or dogs or things like that. But it is an interesting thing to think about because emotional support animals are more commonly being used in things like mental health clinics, hospitals, nursing homes, as well as programs for kids, because animals have the ability to really soothe us and help us build connection. And some of you may know, but for those of you who don't, I work as a therapist as my day job, and it is a job that I love. And we often talk about using a comfort pet or an animal as emotional support and as a good coping skill. So I think that this is a really great topic that we need to be talking about as we continue to understand how real mental health is in this world and in at least the country where I'm in the US. Having the support of an animal nearby, whether they're cuddling you or not, just having something nearby can make a major difference. This can help someone with multiple things, such as coming back into the present after a panic attack, providing comfort while grieving a loved one, or just fostering that feeling of bonding that we need so much. So I would argue that any animal or creature that brings emotional comfort or just comfort in general can be an emotional support animal. I think that our thoughts about what can be an emotional support animal is expanding. I am now seeing things like bunnies, birds, and even horses being considered emotional support animals. I think that we're a pretty far away from having insurance companies think about tarantulas as emotional support animals. But I think if you're a tarantula owner, you would probably agree with me that there is some sort of bond, even if it's just one-sided, between you and your spider. I think that even things like snakes or lizards or any sort of creepy crawly that you love can be an emotional support animal. I talk about this pretty often, and I've definitely talked more in depth about this in another video, which I'll link to below, but I talk a lot about how Spidey and my tarantulas help me deal with anxiety on an ongoing basis, as well as the jealous cat, because she's also my emotional support animal. But yes, tarantulas also provide that for me. And because I've had these experiences with Spidey as well, like this reduction in anxiety after spending time with her, whether I'm interacting with her or not, I don't think an emotional support animal has to be something that you can pet or cuddle or can actually give you affection. So I think that makes tarantulas even more interesting when we think about them in this light. Here's why I think other tarantula owners would agree. I have been in Facebook groups about tarantulas for years, and I consistently see discussions about how getting into the tarantula hobby or getting their first tarantula has helped several tarantula owners, not just like one or two, but like many of us. Had our tarantulas pull us out of things like debilitating depression, has helped us get and stay clean from addiction, helped us cope with extreme loneliness, and several other mental illnesses, conditions, or other very challenging life circumstances. If that is not an emotional support animal, I really don't know what is. I myself got Spidey shortly after having my heart broken many years ago. And honestly, helping her gave me something healthy that was distracting me, and it provided some comfort and distraction to me that was healthy while I healed. I think that if I hadn't had her, I probably would have engaged in some not so healthy behaviors, not necessarily harmful, but just some not so healthy coping skills that I had, such as partying a lot when I was younger, or even jumping into another relationship. So having her and having something to take care of and give my energy, all my nervous, anxious energy to during that time was very healthy for me. It allowed me to heal and be occupied while I was going through that process. This might sound very strange to somebody who is either arachnophobic or doesn't know anything about tarantulas or has never had any tarantulas, but I think a lot of tarantula owners would say that having a tarantula and caring for them is extremely soothing. When watched from a safe distance, these creatures are fascinating. This is something that you can get lost in just looking at them for hours. A lot of tarantula owners say that happens to them, as well as the care for them, the watering, the feeding, the enclosure decorating can be very meditative. A lot of tarantula owners who choose to handle their tarantulas will also say that this is a relaxing practice for them. I myself, I don't handle Spidey often because I don't really agree that tarantulas need to be handled, but in the times that I used to, especially in the beginning before I knew that she was really getting kind of stressed out by it was a very relaxing thing for me to do because it allowed me to focus all my attention on her, and it kind of stopped those racing thoughts for me. And a lot of tarantula owners have said that that does that for them as well. So any animal that keeps you in the present moment, that fascinates you, that gives you something healthy to focus on, can really be a wonderful coping strategy or an emotional support animal. Any hobby that enriches your life, which I think tarantula keeping is for so many of us, can be considered emotional support. And I don't think it has to come from an animal who can provide affection. I think anybody in the tarantula hobby will tell you that is an incredibly rewarding hobby. And not only that, but the community that it provides you with is also really incredible as well. Another reason, and maybe something that people don't think a lot about, but another reason why I think animals are, like tarantulas, are a really good emotional support animal is because tarantulas specifically are so low maintenance. Especially if you have an adult like Spidey who doesn't really need to eat very much, is not molting very much, but even just slings probably only need to be fed a few times a week, if that. They don't need to be fed every day, and they don't need to go out for the bathroom. They don't need to constantly be fed every day. So this can be really good for people who are struggling with mental health conditions, because I don't know if any of you have been extremely depressed before, but anybody who has can tell you that even just doing things like what we call ADLs, activities for daily living, things like showering, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, washing your hair, even going to the bathroom, in the bathroom, can be extremely hard when you don't have any energy and you're just feeling so depressed. So having a pet like a tarantula that doesn't require your attention all the time can be really good. It gives you something nice to focus on when you don't really have the energy to do a lot for it. And of course, you can't completely ignore the tarantula because it does need to eat, it does need to have water, it does need to do, it does need to have some care. But it's not like having a dog or cat where an animal constantly relies on you. And if you can barely take care of yourself, a tarantula might be a pretty good match. So what I'm saying is that an emotional support animal can be anything. And I think that tarantulas can be a really, really great one. And I think a lot of tarantula owners would agree. And I wish that others in other hobbies, or like cat people or dog people specifically, or at least mainstream pet owners, would actually like respect what other people find solace from, comfort from. Because just because you do not find something comforting, or you're not able to bond with something that can't give you affection back, does not mean that this animal does not provide some sort of emotional support or stability for the people who are interested in that. Anyway, I would love to actually know your experiences. Has having a tarantula helped you in any way emotionally or mentally? I find people's stories in this hobby so interesting, how they got into it, how this hobby has helped them grow or overcome life circumstances. So I'd love to know how having a tarantula has actually impacted your life or your health positively. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video found you well, and especially for those of you who are not into tarantulas, maybe it helped you think about these animals a little bit differently, at least. Thanks so much for watching to the end. You can subscribe below if you'd like to see more of this content. You can also subscribe to my Patreon channel for early access to these videos, as well as a subscription to my Tarantula magazine. And if you would like to know more about tarantulas, you can purchase my tarantula guide on my website. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.